Okay, we got a big game in Los Angeles Thursday night. It's the 3-3 Minnesota Vikings heading to play the 4-3 Chargers. Two beat-up teams on a short week. Anything can happen. Let's get into it. Thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this preview. All customers score an NFL touchdown profit boost. Max bet varies and boost amount varies. Minimum minus 200 odds required. Sign up using promo code Gruden. This Top of Mind is brought to you by Chevrolet. Football season is here, and whether you're grinding through the week or gearing up for kickoff, there's one ride that's always game ready, the Chevy Silverado. From job sites to tailgates, Silverado lets you show up strong and tackle any task. For J.D. Power award-winning information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Head to Chevy.com to learn more and build your own Chevy Silverado. Okay, we have the 3-3 Minnesota Vikings led by head coach Kevin O'Connell heading to Los Angeles to play the 4-3 LA Chargers. Both of these teams are not feeling real good right now because they're coming off a tough loss. Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers, Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings, they have their work cut out on this short week. Both of these rosters are beat up, depleted by injuries, and with the lack of practice time, just about anything can happen. The good news is the Chargers will be wearing some of those alternate uniforms. Malisak is a big Charger fan. Those yellow on yellow uniforms, oh my God, is that an alternate uniform? And now they're gonna wear light blue on light blue. How about going back to the great uniform the Chargers grew up with? Anyway, sorry to get off schedule there. The Chargers started 3-0. They were everybody's darling, and now they've lost 3 out of 4 games, and they got manhandled at home on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, 38-24. The Colts came out roaring, scored on 3 straight possessions. I don't think the Chargers got within 13 points in the second half. It was a dominant performance by the Colts. The Minnesota Vikings, coming off a bye week, lost a tough one to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts came to town with a struggling pass offense and lit the Minnesota defense up. 325 yards passing. Carson Wentz threw a pick 6, and it was a tough loss for the Minnesota Vikings. So both of these teams on a short week have a lot of work to do. Take a look at the NFC North right now. This is the only division in pro football where everybody is 500 or better. And at the top of the league is the Green Bay Packers at 4-1-1. The Lions are 5-2. The Chicago Bears have won 4 straight. They're 4-2. And in last place right now is the Minnesota Vikings, who are 3-3. Matter of fact, there's 9 teams in the NFC with a better record than Minnesota. So they better get this one, man. Because you know where they go next week, Jake?
Where?
To Detroit. They haven't won in Detroit since Malisak was in boarding school. It's been a while, you know. And in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, after that miraculous win, they're at the top of the division at 5-2. The Chargers and Chiefs, who are surging. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the rise, man. They're both 4-3. My Raiders are 2-5. But LA has got to get their mojo back. A win on Thursday would make them 5-3 with the Titans coming up. So they got a chance to get some guys back healthy, get a win on Thursday, get a little time off, and go to Tennessee and take a stranglehold of this AFC West. You know, the Vikings and Chargers are hard to read. They're really hard to read because they've had so many injuries. And I'm talking about uncommon injuries. How the hell do you lose all your linemen? I mean, Alt's out, Slater's out, their backup's out. You got to be kidding me. Darisaw is hurt. Over here at right tackle, Brian O'Neill's out. Hell, the Vikings are using their 3rd different center. Aaron Jones, the running back of the Vikings, is out. Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton are out for the Chargers. Khalil Mack has been out. Van Ginkel's been out. What the hell's going on with all these injuries? I have to spend hours and hours and hours of time figuring out who these substitutions are. The Vikings, remember, lost last year to the Lions in Week 17, 31-9, with the division on the line. And then they went to LA and got handled by the Rams 27-9. They gave up 9 sacks. And in the offseason, they made multiple changes on this roster. They have 3 wins, but they beat the Bears, Caleb Williams' first game in a new offense. They beat the Browns overseas, and they beat the Bengals with Jake Browning in the first game without Joe Burrow. They've also lost to pretty good teams, the Falcons, the Eagles, the Steelers. This Minnesota Viking team needs a significant win in prime time to put them on the rise again. They seem like they're slipping, and they seem like they're slipping fast. You know those chargers you stick into the wall to get power into your phone? The Chargers out of power here with LA, man. I mean, I'm looking at them carefully. Hell, without the left tackle, without the right tackle, without both running backs, it just hasn't looked the same. Herbert's getting hit a lot, and the Chargers have struggled. And surprisingly, their defense has regressed. They got destroyed last week by the Colts. SoFi Stadium. The Vikings seem to play here a lot. I think it's their fourth trip in the last 3 years. They know a lot about this place. Head coach Jim Harbaugh is 7-5 at home all time, only 2-2 this year. You know, this is the one stadium I hated when I was a coach. It's like this. The coach's locker room, I'm talking about the visitor's locker room. I'm not talking about the stadium itself. But when you're the visitor, here's the coach's locker room. It's like a maze. You walk through here, you're looking for your offensive lineman. You got to walk all the way around this maze. There they are. Then you want to find your defensive coordinator. You got to walk all the way around. Then you want to go to the bathroom. You got to walk all the way back. It drove me out of my freaking mind. I don't like the visitors' locker room. The Vikings are the visitors. I'm telling you, it was hard for me to make some adjustments at halftime because I couldn't find any of my players. It is a short week, and it's a long trip for the Minnesota Vikings. Keep that in mind. Who knows what can happen on these Thursday night games? Everybody knows I hate them. I think a lot of the coaches hate them, but who cares about us coaches? The thing you got to know is the Rams were at home a couple weeks ago against the 49ers, who were decimated. We made a big deal about how the 49ers have no chance to win in LA. Guess what? 49ers won. Then last week, Joe Flacco just gets out of his car, has to play on a short week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said there's no way. And guess what? Cincinnati proved me wrong again. So how do you know what's going to happen on a Thursday night? You don't know who's going to play. You don't know how healthy everybody is. You don't get any reps. This is really a crapshoot. So don't forget what's happened the last couple weeks. Thursday night football, the Minnesota Vikings have lost 8 out of their last 9 games. So it hasn't been good to them either. And Kevin O'Connell is 0-2 in his career on Thursday night football. I bet he's looking forward to getting on that plane and flying out to LA from Minneapolis. The Chargers beat Denver last year on Thursday night football, but prior to that, they had lost their last 3. So neither one of these teams has a history of getting it done on Thursday night. The last time these two teams met was 2023. That was week 3. And I know the Chargers had a different coaching staff, but what is very interesting is Viking defensive coordinator Brian Flores was the defensive coordinator calling plays against Justin Herbert. Herbert shredded the Vikings in a 28-24 victory. I promise you, Flores and Herbert have spent a lot of time looking at that tape. We'll get into that in a minute. We were all hoping to see Minnesota have their young quarterback J.J. McCarthy go up against Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers. You know, Harbaugh coached at Michigan. He and McCarthy were 27-1, and they won the national title in 2023. But that ain't happening. It's going to be Carson Wentz, the veteran, one more time. You know, Carson Wentz just got to Minnesota on August 24th. It's a crazy quarterback situation for the Vikings. They had Sam Darnold, 35 touchdowns, 9 picks. They let him walk. They went with McCarthy. McCarthy got hurt. And they traded Sam Howell, the backup quarterback, to Philadelphia. They bring in Wentz on August 24th. Guess who the starter is? Wentz is 2-2. He's nursing a sore shoulder as well. McCarthy will be the emergency quarterback at this point in time. You know, when I look at J.J. McCarthy, I get a little nervous. He's missed 21 out of 23 games. The 2-game sample that we do have, 58% complete. He's averaging 150 yards a game, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not only has he missed 21 games, he's missed a lot of practice time. And that takes its toll on the development of a young player. The accumulation of hard work and repetition is a powerful thing. The reps add up and add up. And the accumulation of nothing is a powerful thing. They got to get this young guy back on the grass, back under the center, so this developmental process can take over. The game will feature Justin Herbert, one of the game's best quarterbacks. A lot of people like Malasek think he's the best quarterback. And having competed against Herbert several times, you're not going to hear any complaint from me. This guy is a badass. I love him. But he gets hit a lot, man. He's throwing for a ton of yards. He's got 1,913 yards, 13 touchdowns. He just threw for 420 against the Colts. But they're back to the old days, throwing it just about every play. 61 passes called last week, 55 official attempts, and Herbert is getting rocked. You worry about his longevity if that continues. The hits are adding up. Carson Wentz, keep an eye on this left shoulder. He's done a hell of a job coming in here, keeping the Vikings competitive, learning this Kevin O'Connell offense on short notice. The ball distribution has been good, and if Minnesota can get Aaron Jones back and revive their running game, perhaps they can steal a game here Thursday night. Both of the offensive lines are battered. Both of the running back core battered. And Khalil Mack, although he played 12 snaps last week, coming back from that elbow, clearly wasn't himself. Andrew Van Ginkel has missed the last couple weeks. We don't know if he's playing Thursday night, but the game is missing a lot of premier players, so the backups, once again, are going to play a big role in the outcome. The game features two of the best kickers I have ever seen. Cameron Dicker of the Chargers is the NFL's all-time most accurate kicker. Look at this, Jake. 106 out of 112 all-time. This year, he's 15 for 15 on field goals and 14 for 14 on PATs. That means he's good. And then the other kicker is Will Reichert for the Vikings. Hell, he's 14 for 15 on field goals, 3 for 3 from 55 or more. And his only miss was in one of those foreign country games. The ball hit the freaking camera. It was good. That was a bullshit deal. He should be 15 for 15. I love Reichert. He's 15 for 15 on extra points. The injuries, real quick, I think you got to take a good look at these injuries before you do anything. Carson Wentz with the shoulder, they say he will play. J.J. McCarthy with the ankle, looks like he's out. Xavier Scott, the backup running back to Jordan Mason for the Vikings, he may not play. Got to look into that. They're already missing Aaron Jones. That could be a big deal. Andrew Van Ginkel, star pass rusher for the Vikings. He's got a neck problem. He's been out the last couple weeks. I can't imagine him playing on a short week. And for the Chargers, at running back, they're already missing Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris. Now they're missing Hassan Haskins. He's out with the hamstring. What the hell? Trey Pipkins, right tackle, who's been out for the last couple weeks, may return. And Joe Alt, they gave a press conference the other day. Joe Alt was asked if he's going to play. He said, "That's the plan." I love to hear that. Man, I bet Justin Herbert loves to hear that. Keep an eye on Pipkins and Alt. Troy Dye, pretty darn good linebacker, third on the team in tackles. He missed last week with the thumb. And Elijah Molden, their safety man, he missed last week. Both of those guys are questionable. So make sure you do your due diligence before you do anything. Let's get into the matchup. This offense-defense matchup is brought to you by Fox 1. On Fox 1, you can stream your favorite live sports. So you never miss those, "Did you see that" moment? That means Fox NFL Sundays are on Fox 1. It's NFL Sundays, all streaming live, the way it was meant to be watched. It's also the best way to stay locked in on the action. Whether you're sweating your fantasy matchup, tracking a parlay, or just riding the chaos as it happens. I can't stand watching things on delay. I got to see it live, man. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox 1 for complete terms and conditions. Okay, this LA Charger offense against this Minnesota Viking defense on a short week. A lot of things going on here. The Chargers offense is led by offensive coordinator Greg Roman. Greg Roman used to be the offensive coordinator with Coach Harbaugh at the 49ers. They had a great rushing attack. Colin Kaepernick was at quarterback, Frank Gore. Then he went to the Ravens. They had a hell of a running game, Lamar Jackson. And now when he goes to LA, they try to bring the running game to Los Angeles. And both tackles got hurt, both running backs got hurt. So it really hasn't taken off. They've had to change gears in a hurry. The Chargers right now are 20th in the league in scoring. They make a lot of yards. They're 4th in the league in yards, but they're 17th in rushing, 2nd in passing, and they throw the ball a lot, man. They're throwing it 65% of the time. That's one-dimensional. And a lot of that has to do with the strength of the LA Chargers. The strength is obviously Justin Herbert and this receiving core. That's what's amazing to me. Last year I sat in here and everybody says, the Chargers got no receivers. They're doing Herbert wrong. Well, now they got Keenan Allen back. He's playing his ass off. They got Quentin Johnston. He's coming on, man. Ladd McConkey's playing really well. And wait till you see this Oronde Gadsden, the rookie out of Syracuse. They got some guys that can haul ass, catch passes, and that are versatile. They got to do a better job taking care of the ball. They've already given it away 10 times. Hell, they only gave it away 9 times all last year. Interceptions were up to 6. Last week, one of them was a batted ball. There's not much you can do about that. But when you throw it as much as they throw it, batted passes can become a problem. They've also fumbled the ball 10 times. They're lucky they got some of them back. So the Chargers got to do a much better job with ball security and decision making. They got to take care of the rock. They're using a lot more 10 personnel than most teams. I'll bet you guys don't forget what 10 means, Clay. When I say 10 personnel, let's do a quick review. How many running backs, Clay?
1.
How many tight ends?
0.
0. How many receivers, Clay?
4.
That's exactly right. 39 times the Chargers have been in a spread system. That's the most in the NFL. That's uncommon. You got to admire Justin Herbert. When you look at Herbert, you can put all the statistics up here. He's got all the yards. I mean, this is the home of Sid Gilman, the inventor of the modern pass offense. The Chargers have thrown for 225,000 plus yards. This is where Dan Fouts and Phillip Rivers come from. Justin Herbert is just part of that fiber, man. He can throw it with anybody. He makes memorable plays. Call Sean Payton and ask him about that touchdown pass he threw to beat him in the 4th quarter, running to his left. There's only one guy on the planet, maybe 2, that can make that throw, and Herbert's one of them. Insane. He's tough as hell, man. This guy is gritting it out. I know he doesn't feel great. He had multiple injuries last year. The only thing this man hasn't done is win in the playoffs. And I know that's his mindset. But they got to play better around him on defense and certainly on the offensive line for that to happen. The big question is, how are they going to handle the blitz pickups of Brian Flores in this Minnesota Viking defense? The Vikings blitz 40% of the time. That's 2nd in the league to the Atlanta Falcons. So when you lose Najee Harris, you lose O'Marion Hampton, you lose Hassan Haskins, you're down to your 4th back. When you look at Kamani Vidal, he was cut at the end of training camp. He's back. He was a hell of a player in college, but now it's not just carrying the football and catching passes. You better know where Harrison Smith is and Blake Cashman because they're blitzing. And Eric Wilson, these linebackers and perimeter people are coming, man, and they're coming for your quarterback. So on a short week with no reps, I got to ask myself, how the hell is that possible? 70% of Justin Herbert's passes this year are between 0 and 9 yards. The ball comes out fairly quick. This is one of the NFL's best deep ball passers. They've stayed away from that a little bit because the deeper the routes, the longer you got to hold the ball. I think they really are conscious of taking care of the quarterback. You know, I used to believe this when I was a coach. I said it's not just how many times our quarterback got sacked, whether it was Brad Johnson or Gannon or Derek Carr. It was how many times he got hit, man. How many times did he get hit? Because those hits take a toll. And right now, I think the Chargers got to do a little self-analysis here because Justin Herbert is getting rocked. And believe me, they might not win a game if he's not under center. But they got to take a good look at that against this Brian Flores blitz package that's coming to L.A. When you evaluate Herbert's numbers under pressure like everybody else, they're not as high. There's a lot of throwaways. There's a lot of dead plays when you're under pressure. But his completion percentage is down. Obviously, he's made some big plays. He's thrown for 5 touchdown passes. But his numbers under pressure, not nearly what they could be if they could protect him better. So it goes for helping the tackles, it goes for their individual pass protection, blocking stunts, recognizing blitzes, handling the audibles. They've got to get better in every package to get that done. Herbert has 155 yards scrambling on 13 attempts. He's run for some key first downs. This guy's a big body that can roll. He's strong in the pocket. He can break tackles, and he can hurt you when he breaks out of contain. This is a play-action offense. They've lost the sting of that because they just don't run the ball very much. Last year, they were second in the league in play-action attempts. This year, that number's way off. They've only thrown it 35% of the time. The big thing to look for in this game is, can the Chargers knock it in when they're in the red zone? Right now, they're 31st in the NFL. They're relying on Cameron Dicker, their field goal kicker, way too much. They're 10 for 24 scoring touchdowns. That's 41%. That's at the bottom of the NFL. So they're going to have to finish some drives. We talked about the wide receivers and the tight ends and how much they have improved compared to last year. They're one of 3 teams that has 4 players with 20-plus catches, 300-plus yards, and 1 or more touchdowns. They distribute the ball to Quentin Johnston. Keenan Allen's come back to Charger land and been very, very good. McConkey's emerging in his second year, again, proving that he's a hell of a player. And the emergence of Oronde Gadsden has really helped Herbert throw the rock. One of the cool things when I watch the Chargers is they have a lot of different weapons. They might even use Davis, number 12, in cross motion. They'll put him behind the quarterback, and Herbert will run an inside zone. He'll hand the ball off to number 30, Vidal. And they'll have a built-in bubble screen with 2 lead blockers. And a lot of times, Herbert, because of a loaded box, he'll just flip that bubble screen out to the receiver with 2 lead blockers. Well, last week, they bring Davis in motion behind the quarterback. They act like they're throwing the bubble screen, and instead of blocking, these 2 receivers bluff and run down the field, and that's where Gadsden got a big 30-yard gain. And then in 2023, the funny thing is, they actually throw the bubble screen back to Keenan Allen. And the receiver acted like he was blocking. He took off, and Keenan Allen threw a 50-yard touchdown pass to Mike Williams. So they do a great job in Charger land of having plays that start off looking the same that are different. But when you go up against Brian Flores, you really won't know what the coverage is a lot of the time. For instance, last week on the 79-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith, you won't believe it. They run a sawdog blitz. I call it a sawdog blitz. They bring the Sam, they bring the Will. They got a 6-man rush, and A.J. Brown, number 11, they rotate coverage with the safety over the top. And on the backside, they had Harrison Smith, their safety, playing linebacker. He came running out here to the flat, and Isaiah Rodgers, I don't know what coverage he's playing, but it looked like he was playing 3 deep. And Devontae Smith ran right to the post, and guess what, Jake? Big money right there. So they got to figure out what happened last week in their secondary, because I do know Justin Herbert has the film, and he has a great ability to throw the ball deep, and he has guys that can go get it. That'll be interesting. Okay, the Viking defense led by Brian Flores. They're 10th in the league in scoring, 8th in total defense, 18th against the run, and they're 7th against the pass. They've done some good things. They've taken the ball away 7 times. But before we do cartwheels, 5 of those came against the Cincinnati Bengals, with Jake Browning playing quarterback in Minnesota the first game after Joe Burrow's injury. They've only picked off 2 passes. They haven't been as opportunistic on defense as they were a year ago. Last week against Philly, they got shredded, man. Jalen Hurts came to town with his struggling pass offense, and he was 19 for 23 for 330 and 3 touchdowns. 79, 48, a lot of bombs landed in Eagle receivers' hands. The Vikings are going to play multiple fronts. They have multiple coverages and a lot of different packages. They use number 44, Martellus. He's kind of a hybrid player. He can be a linebacker and create some base defensive fronts. Then he can walk out on the slot and be a big nickel. But they love to use Martellus, number 44, as a joker, a wild card that can do a lot of different things. If the Chargers come out in 12 personnel, 1 back and 2 tight ends, I think you'll see Martellus playing linebacker right next to Blake Cashman and right next to Eric Wilson. If they come out in 11 personnel, he might go out into the slot covering McConkey. They'll use a lot of 3 down fronts in passing situations. Just 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and they'll go to a 6 defensive back set. So Flores has a lot of different packages based on the personnel that the Chargers are going to use. When they do go to their dime package, 6 DBs, you'll see the 3 safeties. Jackson, Harrison Smith, Martellus, and you'll see Okudah, Isaiah Rodgers, and Byron Murphy in the game together. 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 DBs at a time. I'm anxious to see how this secondary of the Vikings responds to the adversity they were faced with last week. Isaiah Rodgers got beat a couple times. Murphy got beat for a touchdown pass. Martellus didn't plaster. He got beat. I'm eager to see on a short week how these guys respond. You know, last year the Vikings and Brian Flores, he called a game with a lead 41 snaps a game. I'm always interested in how do you call the game when your team is in the lead? How do you call the game when you're behind? Well, I heard Coach Flores on record as saying it doesn't really matter how we call the game. But this year, the Vikings, they don't have a lead 41% of the time. They have a lead 15% of the time. That's 3rd fewest in the league. The Titans and the Jets and the Vikings. This team has been behind, and Flores has called plays while he's behind. Well, it may not impact him, but it impacts me because I call plays differently when I have a lead. The Vikings this year are seeing 49% run. That's 15% more runs than they saw last year. When you get a lead on offense, some of us like to pound a rock and use the clock as our friend. Well, the Vikings are faced with that this year because they're trailing a lot more than they did a year ago. Minnesota has 16 sacks this year. They use a lot of blitzing, obviously. 12 different men have a sack. If you remember last year, it was all Grenard, number 58, and Van Ginkel, number 43. Grenard's just got 1.5 sacks right now. Van Ginkel has 2, and he's been out. They have a lot of contributions. Hell, this Jalen Redmond guy, you see him right here inside? He's the number 61 kid out of Oklahoma. He's got 3 sacks. He leads the Vikings. But the perimeter pressure, there's a lot of contributors. The Vikings blitz 40% of the time, 2nd in the league, and a lot of these blitzes are all-out blitzes, man. They're bringing the house. They're bringing 1 more than you have in protection, and they're forcing the ball to come out quick. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and that's not a good sound to Justin Herbert. He's been pressured more than any quarterback in football. Well, guess what? He's facing a defense Thursday night with a 38.5% pressure rate. That's 7th in the league. They have a sack rate, 8.6. That's 3rd in the league. The Vikings hit your quarterback, and they get him on the ground. So it'll be interesting to see how the Chargers deal with that. Last week, one of the most disappointing things in the Vikings defense, other than the big plays they allowed, was they gave up 3 big 3rd downs late in the game. 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15. And right now, without Van Ginkel, I call it the money pass rush. You're going to see Grenard. He'll be on the right tackle. Hopefully it's Trey Pipkins for the Chargers. But number 15, Dallas Turner, the 1st-round pick from Alabama a year ago, he's got to pick it up. He's got to get more done coming off the edge. And the Vikings use their 2 new free agent acquisitions, Jonathan Allen, number 93, and Hargrove, who came over from the 49ers. Those 4 guys, if the Vikings choose not to blitz, got to have a big day against the beat-up Charger offensive line. Let's take a look at the matchups. For the Chargers, you got to make sure you know what's going on at the tackle positions. Joe Alt came out and said, that's the plan. He's planning on playing. And that'll be a significant upgrade for Herbert on his blind side. They've already lost Slater. They move Alt from right to left. He got hurt. They need Alt to play and play well. The other tackle over here, they're hoping Trey Pipkins can play. Bobby Hart, number 66, has been filling in, but Pipkins and Alt could play, and it sounds like Alt is playing, but keep an eye on that. The Vikings, they got to get Jonathan Grenard going. He's a really good player. He is a Pro Bowl badass. He's got 1.5 sacks. He's got the 20 pressures, but he needs to tee off in prime time on this short week. It'll be interesting to see how much gas he has in the tank, man. It's a long trip from Minneapolis. And over here, we talked about Dallas Turner. He doesn't have a power rush. I saw Lane Johnson lock him out a couple times. He does have speed. I have seen him line up on occasion on the inside. But if Van Ginkel can't go, they got to get more production from Turner and certainly Grenard, because those are the money pass rushers. Inside, Bradley Bozeman's at center. They still have Johnson at left guard. Mekhi Becton came over from Philly at right guard. He struggled with some movement. A couple guys crossed his face last week in pass protection. Stunt pickup has been a problem, but I do think the inside three are going to play a hell of a lot better if they get their 2 tackles back. When it comes to switching stunts, some of these combination blocks, I think will really improve. Inside for the Vikings, Hargrave was injured last year for the 49ers. He wears number 97. He can play nose tackle in their base defense. He's a good nickel rusher. And Jonathan Allen, number 93, the ex-Washington Redskins / Commander. He's playing 76% of the plays. He showed really good stamina. Hasn't really gotten home as a rusher yet, but he has made 24 tackles. He can really shed blocks and make tackles. He's a very productive player in this defense. One of my Gruden grinder guys I love, a guy you should keep an eye on, is this number 50, Levi Drake Rodriguez. He comes in there, he's got the long hair, plays his ass off, man. Makes a lot of range plays. He has a lot of high effort production. Texas A&M Commerce. Where is that place? I got to go check that out. This guy's playing really good football. Let's take a look at the running backs for the Chargers. I don't want to underestimate how important number 30, Vidal, is to the Chargers. Here's a guy in Troy that is the Conference Player of the Year. He goes into Charger land. They release him this year. He comes back, and against Miami, he ran for 120 yards. The guy looked great. Only 9 carries, 20 yards last week against the Colts. But it's not so much what he does running the ball and catching the ball. It's, can you pick up blitzes? Can you pick up blitzes and know who to block, how to block, and can you show America how much you want to block? That's what I want to see from him. But what happens if he gets tired? What the hell do we do? We're already missing Hassan Haskins. We're already missing Hampton. We're already missing Najee Harris. It'll be Nyheim Hines, who hasn't done much in the league since 2020. He played for the Colts. He played for the Bills. He's been a good kickoff returner. They just signed Travion Williams to the practice squad. What happens when Vidal comes out of the game? What the hell do we do? We got to find that out. The linebackers for the Vikings, I love Blake Cashman. He wears number 51. He was out. He got hurt September 8th, missed several games, but he came back last week against the Colts. You know, last year he had 111 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Wears the green dot. Very instinctive, great communicator. He had 4 tackles, a QB hit last week against the Eagles. He'll get better because he is a hell of a player. He just needs to get back on the grass. The other linebacker that has really come to Minnesota with a case of whoop-ass is Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson is number 55. He's the leading tackler on the Vikings. He hits the quarterback. Shit, they blitzed him about 12 times last week against the Eagles. I'm convinced when Cashman got hurt, Wilson impressed everybody, and he beat out Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace is a good young linebacker for the Vikings. He's missed 9 or 10 tackles uncharacteristically, but Pace is out of the lineup. Wilson is an emerging player. Cashman is a hell of a player that's back. And they use Josh Martellus, number 44, as a hybrid. So you'll see all 3 of these guys playing linebacker together. And then if you want to put Metellus in the slot, he has the versatility to do that. But these linebackers against this running back advantage Vikings in the blitz package. Outside for the Vikings, they're using Isaiah Rodgers, number 2. He's a really good corner. He's had a heck of a season. He got beat a couple times last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, but those are some badass receivers Philly has. And when you're in one-on-one coverage on an island If the quarterback gets time, you could be in trouble. But I like Isaiah Rodgers a lot. And over here for the Chargers, Keenan freaking Allen, man. Number 13. Every time I see Keenan Allen, I get like, oh, there he is. He scares the shit out of me. He took me to the woodshed. 948 catches for the 12-year pro. 7 more catches for Keenan Allen, everybody. He becomes the all-time leading receiver in Charger history. This is where Kellen Winslow and Charlie Joyner, John Jefferson, this is where Antonio Gates played. But he's had an unbelievable career, 9 catches, 120 yards last week against the Colts. He can run any route you dream up, trust me. So the crafty Keenan Allen against Isaiah Rodgers, I love it. In the slot, it's Ladd McConkey. McConkey's off to another great start. He's got 37 for 380, 2 touchdowns. And he's going to have a couple different slot corners to look at. It could be Metellus in the big nickel, and they could move Byron Murphy, number 7, into the slot in passing situations. But I like McConkey, man. This year, they're moving him outside more than they did last year. Only 60% inside, 40% outside. Ask me why, Clay.
Why?
Because Keenan Allen's in town. You want to put him in the slot too, because he can cut you up, man. They got 2 guys that can really kick your ass in the slot. And over here, Byron Murphy will play most of the time at right corner. He'll also come inside and play the nickel, and when he does, it's Jeff Okudah, the former Ohio State Buckeye. He's wearing number 8. It's bounced around, you know, Detroit. I remember him in Atlanta. Okudah comes in a sub package for the Minnesota Vikings. And over here at wide receiver, Quentin Johnston. This is the big play guy, 450 yards receiving, number 1. Quentin Johnston is healthy now. They got 3 really good receivers outside. And I like this Trey Harris, number 9, from Ole Miss. He's got some good shit to him, too. And don't forget our guy, FFCA graduate, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Guy can roll, man. They got a lot of receivers that are really good. The safeties for the Vikings, remember Bynum, a really good safety, Cam Bynum, left. He went to the Colts. Why do you think the Colts are so good? Daniel Jones, they got Jonathan Taylor. They also got Cam Bynum in free agency. He's a good free safety. So now it's Theo Jackson, number 26. And we welcome back Harrison Smith. I think Harrison Smith's in his 14th season. He just started his 200th game last week, his first start of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles. Harrison Smith, he'll play dime linebacker. Shit, they'll put him in the slot sometimes. He's done it all for the Vikings for a long time. And they better keep an eye on number 86. This is Jake Malasak's favorite player. He comes in from Syracuse. He has done an unbelievable job. 164 yards receiving last week against the Colts. That's 4th most ever by a rookie tight end. He's got 308 yards receiving, and they're looking for him, man. I'm telling you, Justin Herbert's looking for Gadsden. So keep an eye on that. They use Will Dissly, number 89, as a blocking tight end. He had a big drop last week in the middle of the field. Come on, Will, we need you this week. And they use this guy, Tucker Fisk, number 42. Big old guy comes in there, he puts his hand down. I'm like, who the hell is that guy, number 42? He can block at the point of attack. He can pull. He does a lot of dirty work. And they still have Tyler Conklin, number 83, who got off to a great start early in the season. They also have this big fullback guy with a big red beard. His name is Scott Matlock. He comes in and creates some robust formations. Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, they can pack it in with guys like Matlock, Tucker Fisk, Will Dissly, and they can ground and pound. Or I think they're utilizing the strength of their team, these receivers, this young tight end. Let's throw it. Let's throw it 55 more times, and let's let Justin Herbert do his thing. You know, when you're a coach and you got to get ready for Blitz packages, we used to make magnets that kind of defined the Blitz package of each team. And some teams have 4 or 5 magnets. You got to prepare for 4 or 5 distinctly different Blitz looks. When you play Brian Flores, man, you might have to get 10 or 12 magnets. You got double A's, predators, saw dogs, double trouble, jam, backer jam. You got all these different variables. But the one that you fear the most, it's called all-out blitz. They put everybody they have on the line of scrimmage. They overload your protection, and they play man coverage, and you can see it a mile away. The corner will play inside technique. The slot receiver will play inside technique, and so will the opposite corner. You play inside technique because you got no help in there because it's an all-out blitz. And early in the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, they brought all-out gas. And they were one short. Metellus came flying off the edge, and they threw a slant. Philly threw a slant right here to A.J. Brown. And the corner was inside technique, incomplete pass. And all I could see the Viking fans do was, oh, oh, they were doing all these noises, man. It was loud. But I guarantee you, A.J. Brown, he went over there to Nick Sirianni. He says, hey, the next time, let's run a slant and go. And that's just what they did. They came after Philly with an all-out blitz. And when you watch the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, the second one, you'll see Harrison Smith on the line of scrimmage, unblocked. And Jalen Hurts runs a slant and go. And the corner with inside technique, he's thinking, I'm going to jump the slant too. Isaiah Rodgers jumped the slant. Touchdown, Eagles. So how will the LA Chargers handle the all-out blitz? Well, in 2023, all you young coaches out there, put this in your offense. Justin Herbert loves the route I call Quaid, like Dennis Quaid, a quick out with a fade. Against the Vikings a couple years ago, Mike Williams, big number 81, he ran the fade against press coverage. Touchdown for the freaking Chargers. Another time, he threw a quick out against that inside technique, and Keenan Allen ran down the sideline for a 23-yard gain. So be alert for the Chargers to get in a double tight end set, throw a lot of these quades, quick outs to McConkey, fades out here to Quentin Johnston. Might be Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston. Hell, against the Colts last week, they put Gadsden out here, McConkey inside, and they ran what combination, Clay?
Quade.
A quade. And what does quade stand for?
Quick out and a fade.
And I'm telling you, they threw it to McConkey for a first down in the first half, and in the second half, they threw the fade outside to my man, Oronde Gadsden. Alert for these quades, especially against all-out. Okay, the Minnesota Viking offense and the Charger defense. The Viking offense is led by head coach Kevin O'Connell. I see him down there calling the plays. It's one of the reasons I love watching it. I used to agonize down there calling the plays. He's going to go up against Jesse Minter, second-year defensive coordinator of the Chargers. You know, the Vikings on offense are out of sync. I think they have some battery issues, to say the least. I mean, Ryan Kelly was brought in to be the center. They paid him a lot of money to come over here from the Colts. He's hurt. Then they put his backup in, Juergens, and they bench him. They put this guy in here, number 64, Blake Brandel, and they're all excited about Brandel out there in London or wherever that game was against Cleveland. But last week he struggled, man. He snapped it over the quarterback's head. He got beaten pass protection. It was a disappointing performance. So they've had inconsistency in the pivot, man. 3 different centers. That's tough. And they went all in on J.J. McCarthy to start the season, the young quarterback from Michigan. He's out. They traded his backup, Sam Howell, late in training camp. And then they brought in Carson Wentz from his couch on August 24th. So they've had 3 different centers, 3 different quarterbacks. A lot of new faces here, man. A lot of new guys in this offense, and they're just not totally in sync. They don't have a lot of balance. They went out and got Jordan Mason, a good running back, in a trade with the 49ers. They expected to team him up with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is out, and not a lot of people are up in arms about it. They're like, well, they're Vikings, they can't run. Hey, when you lose Aaron Jones, you lose a badass. This guy had 1,600 yards from scrimmage. He's one of 3 guys that ran for 1,000 yards and caught 50 passes. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Aaron Jones. They're missing Aaron Jones. They've had injuries on the offensive line. I don't want to make a lot of excuses, but they're struggling on offense. Last week, they struggled in the red zone. 1 for 6 against Philly. And I thought the penalty they called on the center for holding, bullshit call. He didn't hold that guy. And I thought Hawkinson caught that ball, man. How do they reverse that? That's as bad as the tuck rule. And that really gets me mad. Sorry for yelling. Anyways, they got to pick it up, man, on offense. Carson Wentz, what a hell of a job he's done, man. You know, you could argue that he's not completing enough passes or whatever. But for a guy to come in here August 24th and go 2-2 and really have your team in position to win against the defending world champions, there's a lot of good stuff there. He's 67% complete, over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's got an 89.3 rating. They got a lot of great receivers. We all know Justin Jefferson. I mean, hell, if we gave you all the accolades that he's accomplished, this would be a 3-hour video. He's a great player. They get Addison back. Remember, Addison missed the first few games. He was suspended. Addison is a great receiver, man. He's got over 100 yards 2 of the last 3 games. And I like Jalen Naylor. He's a good player. He had 6 touchdowns last year. TJ Hawkinson's the tight end. But guess who has 2 touchdown catches and leads the Minnesota Vikings? Josh Oliver. He has 2. So really, they haven't been able to get Justin Jefferson in the end zone. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. So they need to get some of these high-profile receivers in the end zone. Hasn't happened yet. In the first 3 years of the Kevin O'Connell era, the Minnesota Vikings led the NFL in play-action passes. And man, did they have a lot of production. If you got Kirk Cousins on the phone and Sam Darnold on the phone, they would say, man, our play-action down-the-field pass offense, unbelievable. Darnold threw 13 touchdown passes, 5 of them to Addison last year on hard play-action passes. Well, the numbers are way down this year. As I said, you're only running the ball 40% of the time. The Vikings aren't playing with the lead. I've already said that. You're coming from behind. The play-action passes don't have as much sting. Carson Wentz, the one thing about Wentz, he likes to push the ball down the field. It got him in trouble last week. Terrible force to Justin Jefferson down the field, but he likes to push it. Almost 15% of Carson Wentz's passes are over 20 yards in the air. That's one of the top numbers in football. So pass interference penalties will be carefully scrutinized. That could determine the outcome of this game. I mean, when you got Justin Jefferson running down the field, I saw him last year against Sauce Gardner. They called 4 pass interference penalties on Sauce in one game. It drives me crazy. Will the refs let him play, or are they going to call it tight? We're going to have to find out. But Wentz is pushing the ball down the field. The one thing about these great receivers that the Vikings have is they command double coverage. The Vikings are running into a light box more than any team in the league. So that's very advantageous to run the football. Unfortunately, the Vikings really haven't taken advantage of that. 13% of Minnesota's runs are stuffed for no gain or a loss of yardage. But when you take 2 safeties and put them back there deep, and you're running into a 6-man box, you should have more success running the football than the Vikings are. The Vikings are on a quarterback carousel. I was on that carousel in Tampa. It ain't any fun, man, at all. And it's going to be interesting to see when J.J. McCarthy plays and how well he plays. But when you look at Kevin O'Connell's career in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins no longer there. Sam Darnold is gone. It's Carson Wentz, J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell. They got a guy, Max Brosmer, in the bullpen. I think the Vikings got to rally around Carson Wentz and buy some time before J.J.'s ready to go. The Charger defense led by Jesse Minter, hell, they've also got a lot of injuries. I look out there, Khalil Mack, he returned last week for 12 plays. He hurt that elbow in week 2 against the Raiders. He's not the Khalil Mack that I know, not yet anyway. Henley, number 0, their great linebacker, had a horrible illness. Hell, he got hospitalized. I don't think he's 100%. Molden, Elijah Molden, their safety, he missed last week's game. Denzel Perryman, their other linebacker, number 6, he just came back and played. I don't think he's 100%. He's a little rusty. And then you look at Derwin James. That ain't the same Derwin James against the Colts that I know. That wrist is bothering him. Deshaun Hand, one of their best inside defensive tackle, he's out. So they are dealing with a lot of injuries, man, especially in the middle of their defense. And when you look at them, they're 17th in scoring, 13th in total, 19th against the run, and 8th against the pass. And yes, they do have 6 interceptions, but they got Geno Smith 3 times in Las Vegas early in the season, and they got Tua 3 times in Miami. They ain't got to pick against anybody else. And they're coming off their worst performance that I've seen in the Jesse Minter era. They really got clobbered by the Indianapolis Colts. They gave up 38 points, 401 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns in one game at home. That can't sit well with the Chargers. They got gashed in the running game, and they got gashed against the Washington Commanders too. When you look at their run defense since week 2, it's not been very good. J.K. Dobbins of the Broncos had 83 yards, 7.5 yards a carry. Scatterboo of the Giants ran for 82 yards. My friend Bill of the Washington Commanders, 111 yards, 7.9 a carry. Good God. And then you look at Miami. Achane had 126 yards, 8.0 a carry. And then last week, Jonathan Taylor, 94 yards, 5.9, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it doesn't sound good. 8 rushing touchdowns. It's just not good. And it's some basic plays. The pin and pull scheme has hurt the Chargers. I mean, against Miami, the tight end blocks down on the defensive end. The tackle blocks down on the 3 technique. They pull the center and the guard. The guard comes out, traps the safety. The center pulls around for the linebacker. They cut off the defensive tackle block out on the end. They hand the ball and read the linebacker. And I'm telling you, Achane goes for 50 yards. And then they're playing the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have 3 tight ends on the strong side. Here comes a free safety blitz off the weak side, and the defensive end and the free safety hit the same gap. They're a gap short, and the runner runs for about 50 yards. It was the biggest hole in the history of Washington football. They got to do a better job getting back to the details. Somebody runs a duo in there, it bounces outside, the wide receiver cracks the safety, and the corner doesn't replace. They got to get back to the details. And most importantly, whoever plays in the middle of the defense. I've seen Derwin back there. I've seen the young player Mickens back there. I saw Jefferson last week against the Colts. When you're in the free safety position, if there's a breakout, we call you guys the eraser tacklers. You got to get that guy on the ground in a one-on-one situation. Hasn't happened. Jefferson missed. Derwin missed. Mickens missed, and a 10-yard run turns into a gash. So I challenge the Chargers. I want you to be harder on these freaking Vikings than you were on me. Because, hell, you ran me out of coaching, you doggone Chargers. Sorry for yelling. You know what else happened, I think, last week against the Colts? Head coach Shane Steichen did a great job. You know, the Chargers come out with some pass rush fronts. They substitute a lot. Nobody substitutes on defense more than the LA Chargers. 79% of the plays the Chargers substitute on defense. Most of those substitutions involve 2 players. They might bring in a new corner and a new defensive lineman. They might bring in 2 new pass rushers. I mean, they substitute almost 80% of the plays. But in a lot of these third down packages, they use 3 defensive ends. Last week, 3 times, they had Tui Pelotu out there, number 45, with Odafe Owe, number 98. 2 defensive ends. They had Khalil Mack out there with 1 big guy, and they had Henley on the line of scrimmage. They had a lot of light pass rushers out there, and guess what the Colts did? Twice they just ran it right down their throat. I think the Chargers got to be careful. When they put all these light pass rushing Corvettes out there, don't be surprised if the Vikings don't audible to a run if the Chargers come out with all these light defenders that love to rush the passer. That's what the Colts had great success with. Bottom line is this Charger defense has given up 27 points or more in 3 straight weeks. Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, and Addison, they might be licking their chops. The Chargers don't blitz a lot, just 21% of the time, although they do have some creative packages and they have a lot of success when they do bring the heat. And on a short week, don't be surprised if Jesse Minter doesn't rev it up a little bit coming off that disappointing loss last week. The 4-man rush, it's been a little bit lackluster. Obviously, Khalil Mack has been hurt. They made the trade for Owe for a reason. They've had some injuries at defensive tackle, but other than Tui Pelotu, we haven't seen a lot of consistent pass rushers on this Charger defense. The other thing is Jesse Minter's got to improve his 4th down defense. Last week, the Colts went 3 for 3 on 4th down. Opponents are 9 for 12 this year against the Chargers. Don't be surprised. I know this is only week 8, but Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings are playing with some desperation. And desperate people do desperate things, man. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Kevin O'Connell's in a go for it quite a bit in this game. Let's take a look at the matchups. The offensive line of the Vikings, everybody talks about the injuries on the Charger line. Well, Christian Darrisaw has battled a knee injury all season. He came back from a serious injury a year ago. He is playing, but he has come out of the lineup on occasion. Left guard, Donovan Jackson, #1 pick out of Ohio State. Hell, he's missed a couple games. We already talked about Ryan Kelly, the high-paid center. He's out. They didn't like Michael Juergens. They're down to Blake Brandel. And Brandel really struggled last week against Philly. Will Fries, high-priced guard they brought in from the Colts, has been solid. And Brian O'Neill at right tackle, although he's been to the Pro Bowl, he missed time with a right knee injury he suffered against the Browns. So they've had a lot of guys rolling in and out. And we don't know how healthy they truly are on a short week. And for the Chargers, it's the #1 man on their defense is number 45, Tuli Tuipulotu. I mean, this guy's a hell of a player. He can play inside, right side, left side. He had 8.5 sacks last year. His pressure rate is the highest it's been. This guy's dangerous. He's got power, and he's got some moves, man. I like his style. I like his name. Say it, Jake.
Tuli Tuipulotu.
That's very good. Say it, Clay.
Tuli Tuipulotu.
Very good, guys. Practice saying that at home. They also brought in the ex-Baltimore Raven. Keep an eye on this guy, number 98, Odafe Owe. I was out in Baltimore. He's a hell of a player. This guy had double-digit sacks. He had one against Miami in his first game as a Charger. I think this cat's got to come off the screen. He's got to raise hell and make his presence felt. And Khalil Mack, hopefully he's healthy. He only played 12 snaps last week. They're going to need a lot more from him. He's got 109 career sacks, the ex-Raider. I know all you guys think I traded him, but hell, you think I really didn't want him on the team? The hell's wrong with some of you people? Inside for this Charger defense, Teair Tart, number 90. They have 4 guys that play 41 to 50% of the plays. Tart, number 90, is the man that sticks out to me the most. Caldwell is a rookie, number 99. He can play nose tackle in their base defense. He's solid. The other guy is number 92, Justin Eboigbe. I love saying these Charger names, man. 92, 90 Tart, and 99 Caldwell play most of the time. Naquan Jones, number 96, will come in there as well. They're missing a couple guys in there, so they don't have the depth they had earlier in the season. But they do have the people to give this beat-up offensive line of the Vikings some problems. The running back for the Vikings is Jordan Mason. He's got 84 carries, 380 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's a hell of a back. He is a puncher, man. This guy hits it. He can really make yardage after contact. He's a good finisher in short yardage and goal line. He's not the receiver of Aaron Jones. Last week against Philly, he's on a wide flare, but he's a little deep. It turns out to be a lateral 9-yard loss. They're not getting the specialty pass routes that Aaron Jones gave them. God, I hope Aaron Jones plays because he can line up in empty backfield sets. He can run wide receiver routes. Mason is more of an old school I formation pounder, man. Good back. The linebackers for the Chargers, this is the most concerning part of the Charger defense. Denzel Perryman, number 6. He returned after a few weeks off. He had a bad ankle injury. I can vividly remember he and Henley, number 0, they're communicating during the snap. They miss a run fit. There's a big running play. They got to get Perryman reacclimated to the speed of the game, and his playing style, I think, will help the Charger defense. Henley is a hell of a linebacker, but he had a terrible illness. There's no way he was 100% last week against the Colts, but he played every single snap. This guy is a freak, man. 48 tackles. He has 2 sacks, 2 PBUs. I've seen him spy on quarterbacks. I just hope he gets his wind back and gets back to full health because Troy Dye, the 3rd linebacker and 3rd leading tackler, number 43, he didn't play last week. So if he doesn't play again Thursday, Henley and Perryman have got to really pick it up against the powerhouse Jordan Mason. At tight end, TJ Hawkinson and Josh Oliver, number 84. Those two tight ends play in 12 personnel quite a bit. Hawkinson, for some reason, has just not taken off in the red zone. And I know that touchdown catch last week should have stood. But they have a very good receiving tight end here in Hawkinson and Josh Oliver. They can get him the ball in some creative ways in goal line situations in particular. Both of these tight ends have some versatility. The safeties for the LA Chargers, boy, you hope Elijah Molden can play. They miss him in the middle of their defense. The linebackers have been beat up, and when Molden doesn't play, I think there's some problems on the back end. They've tried Mickens back there in the post. They put Tony Jefferson back in there, who's still a very good player. But Molden has great range. He's an eraser tackler. He can do some excellent things in coverage when asked to, and he can disguise a lot of their package. But Molden is a guy you got to look into before you do anything. Derwin James will play strong safety. Most of the time I see James, he's playing in the big nickel spot. He's come off the edge 35 times this year. And you know, when you're an offensive coordinator, you got to make a decision against James. You know, you get the defensive end out here, and if you get Derwin James coming off that edge over there, do you want a back to block him? Hell, I didn't. I don't think any running back coaches do. So a lot of times you got to make a fan call. Those two guys fan out and block James, and the back has to go up inside. Derwin James is a problem for running backs to pick up, let me tell you. I'm worried about James because his wrist obviously hurt his play last week. But when James plays, most of the time he's in the slot. In their base defense, he'll play strong safety. When the Chargers play their base defense, James and Molden will be their safeties. Now the corners, they're playing Benjamin St-Juste last week, starting against the Colts. He filled in for Cam Hart. Cam Hart, number 20, did not start the game last week. He has struggled. Cam Hart's given up some big plays. His QBR against him is over 110, 200 plus yards. So they put the veteran, former Washington Commander, number 24 in there to start the game at left corner. Dante Jackson, number 26, will be the right corner. He's played good against the pass, 65.5 QB rating against him. He's got to crack and replace. So when that wide receiver blocks that safety, you got to get up there, Dante, and make that tackle. Good player on the outside. Tarheeb Still, he'll start out here in the base, but in passing situations, at times you'll see Still number 29 in the slot. He's a good player. Out here as a corner, he's just given up a 70.5 QBR. And in the slot, you'll see him come off the edge. And as Ron Zook, my old secondary coach, used to say, hey, you got to use long strides to get there, but you got to shorten your stride, break down, and make that sack. He overran Daniel Jones last week. Should have been an automatic sack. So he's got to improve there. But those corners, those safeties, are going to go up against arguably as good a receiving corps as there is in football. Justin Jefferson, I'm just waiting for a 200-yard explosion, man. This guy's really good. He can run all the routes. I saw him last week playing in the backfield. They put him in the slot. They put him at the strong side, the weak side. Jefferson can come out of motion. They got to get him going. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't target him 15 times. Over here is Jordan Addison, probably my favorite receiver that doesn't get enough attention. This guy can run some nasty routes. If you call Quinyon Mitchell of the Eagles, ask him. He did some of his best work against the best corner last week. He can really come out of his breaks at top speed. I love him. And Jalen Naylor, good player. This guy can score touchdowns. He can run down the seam. He can get out of his breaks with ease. They got an excellent receiving core, and the Chargers play good pass defense. We got a backup quarterback, Carson Wentz, with a sore left shoulder. A beat-up Minnesota Viking offensive line against a Charger defense that's coming off their worst performance, and I know they got a lot of pride. I expect both sides of the ball to have one hell of a battle. You know, these Thursday night games are tough to pick. I couldn't have been more wrong about the 49er Ram game or the Bengal Steeler game, but I'm getting this one right. It's going to be the Chargers 24 and the Vikings 20. Mark that down.